These are ancient stone constructions from an unknown culture. Or I'm going crazy. Okay, so he's not kidding about going crazy about this stuff, and by him, I mean me. Look, anywhere else in the world, a site like this would be immediately protected. It would be extensively studied. It would probably be some sort of a tourist attraction. It could even be a World Heritage Site. I mean, this is a major construction here, and this is just one of 7 on this particular site. Have a look at this. So here's a bit of drone footage. I wish I could have seen it on the screen a bit better. I would have done a better job with it. But here you can see 4 of them, just barely 5. The 6th one and 7th ones are a little further out of this shot. But you can see all these monuments are within about I'd say 75 feet of each other, 50 to 75 feet of each other. They're in a circular shape, an arc shape. Now, if we look a little closer at them, we have this original site. Then we move over to, let's call it Monument 2. Here we have Monument 3. Monument 4. And Monument 5 is a little harder to see. It's been grown over a lot. It has more flat stones and it's a little further down, so the earth has covered it up a bit more. And we have Monument 6 here. I couldn't catch it on the drone. I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it because it was a little outside of the circle. You know, if the circle, they're about 100 feet apart, this would be about 300 feet away. One of the same types of constructs, clearly. In each one of these constructions, we have a platform mound made of small stones, anywhere from 3 to 4 feet tall. This creates the base or the foundation mound, on top of which are placed these very large stones, anywhere from half a ton to 2 tons, have been lifted, not dragged up onto it, lifted up onto the platform mound, and I have no idea how they did this. I mean, there's no way an excavator did this. We would see the tracks, even if it was, you know, decades ago. We would still see the tracks of major construction. But then the bigger question is why? You know, why would someone do this? Okay, and now back to this big daddy-o of a site, the original one here. Let's just look a little closer at the construction of this. Here we see this platform mound. It's about 4 feet tall, and then all these major gigantic stones placed on top of it in what you could kind of call a circle, but from above it looks more like some sort of a rectangle or part of a triangle. It's hard to say. I don't know. It's very hard to interpret these things. This can't happen randomly. And, you know, if it happens once randomly through some force of nature, it can't happen 7 times in a circle. So here's the second one, which is just 100 feet away from the first one. That big stone there has got to be over 2 tons. And we see that that has been placed on top of another mound of smaller stones. This one is less defined than the first one, but quite evidently it's been placed on top of smaller stones. And you see this again and again with all 6 of the constructions. You zoom out a bit more and you have on the next mountain over 30 different structures, albeit very different to these, but structures nonetheless, as being human-made constructs. And then again, you zoom out more and more and you have 24 different major sites with several cairns to each site. So it's really context that allows us to make the final interpretation of these things as being the colossal work of a major established culture that had spirituality as their unifying communal practice and way of life. It's something that can tell us something about ourselves. If we just embrace the fact that yes, this did happen, let's just get rid of the old dogma that this couldn't have happened in North America. This indeed happened. We need to look at it so that we can sort of understand more about our collective history. Our collective history and our collective evolution towards whether religion or spirituality. These are the questions that are kind of chipping away at the big question, and what is the nature of reality? What is the nature of consciousness? And how do creating these megalithic stone sites, how do they relate to the meaning of it all? It's more than just archaeological. It becomes a very philosophical and spiritual endeavor to explore these things. And I think that the opportunity here is that, like I say, this is a missing link. This could not only be one of the largest cultures to practice spiritual ritualistic builds in massive stones, but it could also be one of the oldest. And so, if this is related to the Champlain Sea, which it very clearly seems to be based on where these structures are all around that ancient seashore, we're talking 10,000 years plus. And so I don't think we've found, we have Göbekli Tepe at around that range, that age of archaeological sites of people building spiritual, ritualistic representations in stone. And that's a massive site. We have, this cluster of 30 Stonehenges all around that we may never see. But this would be far bigger. These stone constructions are way more ubiquitous and cover a much larger territory from up here in West Quebec all the way to Georgia. And so this could be a big part of the discussion, a big missing link in terms of what we're trying to find out collectively about our past and our evolution. I realize that there's a lot of resistance to this discussion, to opening up. Although it is happening, there has been so much resistance to opening up to the idea of a more complex migrations to North America, a more complex peopling, an older history of the peopling of the Americas. I realize why there's resistance to it, but I see this as a unifying subject. You go back this far And this is way before we were different races. This is really goes back to what unifies us all as people. And that's my hope for the research in this, is that we can break those resisting issues that seem to define us all as separate and competing and fighting against each other. When you go back far enough, you're talking about spirit, you're talking about star worship, you're talking about communal projects of building something religious or spiritual. You go back far enough, and that's information that applies to us all. It's our shared history, all of our shared history. And so that's another reason why I find it to be so important, that it can be actually a unifying study. I hope you share this like crazy. Like, people need to start taking this seriously. Please subscribe, hit the like, but especially share this with anyone you think might be interested. I think I'm finally narrowing this down to something that can't be ignored when we look at these specific structures at this specific site. And so I thank you in advance for that. And I look forward to see where this goes. I'll continue my research. I won't go insane, but it is testing me, and I'll continue with it. Thanks very much for sticking with me through all these years and through this one. Please share. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
The purest needs and release. And if you never fly, well, I tell you many things.